Hey guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today I wanted to talk about the different cervical fluids because when you first start charting, I think getting the handle on being able to tell the difference between your fluids, it's a bit overwhelming and people think they can't do it, but it doesn't take that long. And once you've got the handle on that, like you've got charting in the bag, you're fine. I'm not going to give you any actual visuals of cervical fluid today, but I will link an example down below from Taking Charge of Fertility. It just has a chart of like the different examples, and you can 110% find examples on the internet if you just need something to look at, something to compare it to be like, is this what I think it is? They're out there. Your cervical fluid plays a certain role when it comes to your fertility. It's made up of water, sugar, electrolytes, and proteins that help nourish the sperm on its way to meet the egg. It also creates an alkaline environment for the sperm, just like semen does, because our vaginas are slightly too acidic and create a hostile environment for sperm. And now you might be saying to yourself, like, I don't care what my cervical fluid can do for sperm because I really don't want to get pregnant. But I'm just mentioning this because it's important to understand the role of it in your fertility and why it is a certain way at each point in your cycle. So just bear with me. And this is because you have different fluid at different points in your cycle, depending on where you are, and they range from not fertile to very fertile. And now I've made this very high-tech example that I'm gonna put on the screen right now. I like to look at it as a spectrum. Sometimes I think that helps explain it. So you can see on the one end we have not fertile, and that's where you have your dry, so slightly damp, but there's no fluid present. And then it goes all the way over to the very fertile, the egg white, slippery, clear, stretchy, and in between you can see you have least fertile and more fertile, and that's the sticky and the creamy. Another visual I want to give you is kind of how it looks throughout your cycle on a chart. And I've pulled this inspiration from the Kindara app because I like how they have what's called a fertile valley. So as it gets more fertile, it dips down. But as you can see from this, you start with your period and then you go into a couple dry days, and then you go into a couple sticky days followed by creamy to egg white, and then some people have like a little bit of like sticky or creamy fluid after they're most fertile, and then it usually finishes off with no fluid present, so dry before the start of your period again. So after kind of having those visuals of kind of what happens with your fluid throughout your cycle, and it's different for every woman. So how do you determine which fluid you are currently experiencing? There's a few things that you want to look out for when you're charting your fluid. So the first thing is the sensation when you're just going about your day. This isn't like looking or checking or anything, just as you're walking about or sitting down, is there any sort of sensation? Do you feel like your underwear kind of wet, or do you feel like you're peeing yourself a little bit? Like, those are important to look out for. When you do go to the bathroom, if there's anything on your underwear, what does it look like when you check? What does it feel like when you check? And is there anything when you wipe? There is a point around ovulation where you can feel like you're kind of peeing your pants and you just feel aware of like, yeah, there's something going on down there. And then around your infertile and least fertile points, you might just be like, yeah, I don't feel anything. It just feels completely dry. So you want to take note of which of those it is. Like, do you feel like there's nothing there? Do you feel like maybe there's a little bit of like a moist sensation, or is there a wet one, or is there like a very noticeable, like I feel like I'm peeing my pants sort of thing? Then when you go to actually check your fluid, you want to do a few things. Notice how it feels, and then notice how it looks. Notice what's going on in your underwear, and notice what it feels like when you wipe. If there's nothing or there's no fluid present, usually be some sort of like dampness to your finger when you check it, but there's no actual fluid there. When you get into the sticky fluid realm, there's a thicker consistency to it, but it's like, it's tacky, it's sticky, it's not stretching, it's not really doing anything. I like to think of it almost as like a rubber cement in a way. Creamy is the point to where it doesn't ball up into your fingers anymore. It isn't like tacky. It's just more of kind of like a lotion that you can rub between your fingers. And then finally, egg white is the best descriptor because it is like raw egg whites. It's clear, it's stretchy, it's wet, and you know, you can stretch it between your fingers and it won't break. Some people get confused between the sticky and the egg white because with the tacky one, it can be a little stretchy or it can stretch between your fingers, but the difference is in kind of the consistency and the color. The sticky one is a bit more clouded and it's not clear. It will break if you stretch it, or it will just kind of like tack up and it won't actually stretch, while the egg white is very clear. It's almost like see-through, and it like you can stretch it back and forth and it won't break, but the tacky stuff will. It takes a few cycles of consistently charting and checking your fluid to learn the difference between the fluids for you and your pattern of fertility when it comes to fluid. And while it follows a pretty standard pattern, you can have a little bit of variance in there. Like some women go straight from having their period to having creamy fluid without having a dry spell in between that. And some women can experience non-fertile fluid after ovulation up until their period comes again. And so you just kind of have to learn like what's normal for you. In the end, do not be grossed out by cervical fluid. It's not something that means you're dirty or that something's wrong with you. I definitely came into this world when I first started getting cervical fluid, and I definitely thought I was the only one that was experiencing this, that there was something wrong with me, that like there was some sort of like infection or like sickness or disease going on, but it's not. It's completely normal, and you're not the only one that experiences it, so don't feel special. Everyone experiences it who has a menstrual cycle. There's some sort of fluid happening, and it's completely normal. That is what I have to say today about cervical fluid. I know it wasn't super in-depth, but I just kind of wanted to go through the differences in each to hopefully, maybe if you've been confused, it will give you a little bit of a clearer picture. Go and check out those photos if you need more of a visual thing. But that is what I have to say. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Do not forget to subscribe to FemmeHead, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!